Got to go live on Twitch. Suck my ass. There we go. Hello, 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 everybody. Timed that well, didn't I? It's your boy Jmulls, and today we're about to get nerdy in here. Now, is this because I've been messing with DaVinci Resolve to try to get like subtitles to work for my shorts, and then I realized, oh right, my accent, these like AI subtitle generators don't really know how to work with me. And I had to like delete it, and I just wasted an hour of my life basically. Yeah, possibly that might be why we're so late today. However, despite that, when you think about it with a little bit of science, we are here. We're doing this today because we have to do WoW tomorrow because we have a whole bunch of new stuff. So, we gotta get nerdy today, people. This is the stream all the Xenosaga and all the Xenogears streams have led to. This is probably gonna be like a part 1 stream, let's be fair here. I don't know how long we're gonna go. I doubt it'll be like a terribly long stream because I am kind of tired, but we'll see. We need to at least begin this. Hello, 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 Neo, Izanami, Zen, Fubuki, Esther, Crimson. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day. Please seeing you around. Hope your day is going well. Terrible. How about you? And guys, how's it poppin'? Okay, so, Lord help me. When I have a playlist open and one song finishes, I want you to play the next song in the playlist. What I don't want you to do is play some random song. Okay? Have we sorted that issue out? I hope we have, personally. I feel as if this is like something that shouldn't be that complicated. Now, I don't know. I just feel as if that's the case. Are we good? Let's see. Let's test it. I think we're good now. Alright, I think we're good. Hello, 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 Ego. Welcome to the stream. Now, for those who don't know what Perfect Works is, it was a book that came out a long-ass time ago. Do you know how, like, Square Enix likes to put out those, like, book compendiums for, like, certain games? Like, they do this for Final Fantasy all the time, right? They'll put out some, like, giant book with a whole bunch of information for, like, the story and all that. They did that for Xenogears. Hello, 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 Noodles. Welcome to the stream. I can't show the title for the book because it legitimately just has Ellie with her tits out. And, like, full detail. Like, there's straight up nipple on that thing. So I can't show the title for the book. And also, it's a book. I don't think I can show any of the actual pages. But, if you know me, if you know your boy, I have a solution to this. Yeah? I have what we like to call in the business a workaround. So we're back on Microsoft Paint. Hello, Shadow. Welcome to the stream. So, what we're going to do, because there's a timeline. They classified Xenogears within Xenogears as Episode 5. That may have confused some of you as to what Episode 5 was. Was the game broken down into various different parts? Al contraire, ma chérie. So, you may have heard of Perfect Works. So a safe for work, not safe for work. No, it's like not even it's legitimately not safe for work. It's like it's just Ellie, like, kind of like kneeling down, and you can see like both of her tits. Like nothing's obscured or anything. Like nipples out for the lads. So within this book, we have the timeline. Some of you may have heard about like the Perfect Works like timeline. Basically, this giant, grandiose, overarching story that Takahashi and like Monolith have been trying to tell for so long. It dates back to this. So what I want to do is I want to break down what this timeline is, because we actually need to learn this thing. Because they still like kind of stick to this timeline to some degree. So we have what we like to call a white bar. Oh my god. You can actually see my Master Chief mask. It pops in the frame. Let's go. Alright, that was sick. A little bit. Okay, so here, like I said, we'll find a way to make this work. So this is episode 1. How am I gonna do this? 12-point font? Wait, hold on. Where's my boy? Where's my guiding moonlight? Come on, don't tease me now. Where are you? I saw it. Oh! Oh, Times New Roman. Oh, fuck. Alright, we're back, boys. Times New Roman in the house. Get ready, get excited. Hello, Jason and Neo Praetorian. Welcome to the stream. I'm sorry I better not have pronounced your name, but welcome to the stream. Alright, now. Why? Oh my god. So when I tab out of the window, it doesn't continue the playlist because it's stupid. Okay. I got an idea. Loop it. I'll be like the village theme. Hello, Ides. So, here's the workaround. I'm gonna read Perfect Works, and we'll, like, break down the core important components onto this, and we'll discuss as we go. Because, like, it's a legit book. I don't think I can just, like, read it out. Well, actually, it was never technically released in English, so we are working with a translation. Alright, so we have episode 1, the beginning. I do not need it in 72-point font. I also had, where'd my Times New Roman go? Oh my god. What a catastrophe. There it is. This is my kingdom. Motherfucker. Did we code this in an afternoon? Hey, look. Alright, we have episode 1. They use Roman numerals. Why is the space like 15 lines? Okay. Called the Era of Interplanetary War. Okay. I will accept nothing less than 144 point. I believe it's something like that. I don't want to have to, like, deal with any of that, so we'll just, like, we'll do what we can. Besides, it's not like you're missing much. One, you can find this book. It's word on the want. You might be able to find the English translation rather simply. Who knows? And, like, you didn't hear it from me. I would never advocate for doing that. I'm just saying so you can be aware and ignore and, like, avoid it, right? Like, there you go. You're also not missing much. It's just, like, the pages are giant fucking text walls, basically. And they have, like, this, like, beam of yellow light going across the screen. And it's like, that's basically it. I'll put the important information here, so don't even worry. We're gonna need, like, a bona fide resource, by the way. So we can get even nerdier when it comes to predicting where the story goes from here. Because it's me. Okay, so we have the era of interplanetary war. Motherfucker. 15,000 years before the story. Okay. $15,000 years before Xenogears. Bearing in mind, Xenogears is episode 5 in all of this. Okay, they're calling Xenogears a single pod within an infinite flow of history. More or less 15,000 years is what we're dealing with. Story is told through 6 large episodes. And Xenogears is episode 5. It is possible to determine the cause and effect that take place from past to the present. Hello, Viresi. Welcome to the show, but I'm on the road. Can Molly spell resource? Yeah, sure. Here you go. There you go. That's how you spell resource right there. So where are the other episodes? That's the funny bit. I hear that actually Xenoblade and also Xenosaga. So we have to get through this. So we have episode 1, the era of interplanetary war, about 15,000 years before Xenogears. Oh, interesting. They name drop Neo Jerusalem. For Xenosaga, they call Earth Lost Jerusalem. Okay. Discovered a hospitable planet in the Archer Constant. Wait, what? Okay, we actually didn't kind of specific here. Hospitable planet. What? Archer Constellation. M24. Okay. This is called Neo Jerusalem. Okay. What? Oh my god. Text forming on paint. Oh, what the fuck? Where's the... There. Neo Jerusalem. Okay. We have a setting at least. Headed for the abyss of space. Humanity enlarged the circle of living things to encompass almost the entire galaxy approximately 10,000 years ago. Circle of living things reminds me of like Zarathustra in a way. Okay. Humanity. What's the word I'm looking for? Do I think of the colonizers? Encompasses galaxy 10,000 years ago. Oh, they call Earth Earth. Okay. Sets out from Earth. Finds. Okay, so 15,000 years ago before the story, humanity sets out from Earth to find a hospitable planet. They find one in the Archer constellation M24. They call it Neo Jerusalem. I'm assuming that is going to be the setting of Xenogears. Entire book is written right to left. Oh, fuck. Good point. That's a really good point. No, but it says before the story. No, we're going in chronological order. We're going chronological order. We're good. Xenogears before the ship sailed. Yeah, this is like way before all of that. For instance, for like the Zeboim civilization was like 4,000 years ago. We're going all the way back to 15,000. Okay. And then 10,000 years ago, there was some interplanetary war. Okay, we don't know too much about episode 1 apparently, but we know a few extra things now. Motherfucker. Okay. We are in interplanetary war. And it breaks out. This is also when Deus is created. So we don't know too much, but like the beginning years, humanity sets out from Earth to find a new planet. They find one, they call it Neo Jerusalem. It's in the Archer constellation M24. Then 5,000 years after that point, when they find Neo Jerusalem, war breaks out across different planets, an interplanetary war. And during the course of that war, Deus is created. Deus being like the god machine that was created as a weapon that we had to like deal with in Xenogears. Deus is called Yahweh in the book. Makes sense. That's just like the Hebrew way to say, I don't know if it was Hebrew, but it was like the way to say God. It was like, I am. It didn't have an actual proper name. You used Yahweh. Omega Ray Nova in Xenosaga was basically a franchise's version of Deus. I'd have to research that again. Okay. Much devastation because of the war. Okay, that's episode 1. Can I shrink this? Okay, episode 1. Now we need episode 2. Okay. Episode 2. Time of the Genesis. Okay, now we're getting biblical. Though, asterisk, I don't know if the translation I'm working with is necessarily overly reliable, so I'm not gonna, like, get too picky about specific wording until we get clarification. Should be quite confused. We'll work through it, thank you. Hello, Nick. Welcome to the stream. Okay. Sentient life forms begin to increase at this time in the world of Fae and the others. Cain becomes the human's progenitor. and was revered as the divine emperor. Becomes humanity's progenitor, divine emperor. This is when Cain really comes onto the scene. Okay, we have Abel as well. Survive of the Eldritch's fall to Earth. Oppose the religion of Cain. Right, Cain and Abel. Abel was like a previous incarnation of Fae, right? Yeah, he was. I remember now. Okay, yeah. Abel, survivor of Eldritch. Opposed Cain's way of life. Then Cain and Ellie basically teamed up here. Cain and Ellie... No, wait. Abel and Ellie team up. Put that in asterisks. Okay, at that time it was thought that Cain's own mission was to bring about the resurrection of Deus. Thought that Cain wanted resurrection of Deus. And did not seek out freedom for mankind. Alright. We have 2 chapters done. Okay, move this. Okay, I need another line. We're done with episode 2. Okay, so episode 1, we have people setting out from Earth. They find the new planet, Neo Jerusalem, in the Archer constellation M24. A giant war breaks out 10,000 years ago. They also create Deus. Then in episode 2, taking place 10,000 years ago, so like they start like intersect here. One flows into the other. We have basically what I imagine is the intro scene of Xenogears. The Eldritch falls onto the planet. Cain becomes the divine emperor. Abel manages to live, teams up with Ellie, and they think Cain's like the enemy of mankind at this point. We know better now, but at that point they thought Cain was on the side of like Deus. Lyn is Cosmos. Abel was the original Fae. Gotcha. Thank you. Hello, Games. Welcome to the stream. Dan I'm going to spoil the whole thing. Dan from Xenogears is Zed. Mind blown. And yet created humanity. It's a very interesting concept. It goes back to like that age-old like moral of like creation and life coming from destruction, those two being like inherently intertwined. I do wonder if they're trying to go for like a Noah metaphor here. Because the funny thing is, Noah from Xenoblade 3 does kind of resemble Faye in a way. Obviously, Matthew resembles him more. But they even named him Noah. Curious and curiouser. I wonder what they would consider the Ark to be. Whether that be Eldridge. That actually might be considered to be Eldridge. From great destruction comes like the future of humanity. I interpret Cain as originally wanting to resurrect Deus, but over time he grows fond of humanity and doesn't want them sacrificed. That's probably what it is, yeah. I think I misspoke earlier. I was just wrong. Alright. Now we have episode 3, which is the Boim culture. So we're jumping forward in time by a lot here. We're skipping a lot of time here. Alright, now we have episode 3. The Boim culture. This is 4,000 years ago. So we went from episode 1, 15,000 years ago, to episode 2 being 10,000 years ago. Now we're jumping ahead 6,000 years to the Boim culture. The Boim culture was... Remember that cutscene we had down in the sewers with, like, Emeralda when she, like, digivolved? And we went back in time to the time period that got blown up by all the nukes and all that looked like modern society? That was the Boim culture. They were the ones who had that giant city we found under the water and all that. That's the Boim culture. Looking at Dan's hairline, he looks more older than Z. Damn. Hello, Shin. Welcome to the stream. They just released a Switch 2 update to let some Switch 1 games play as if in TV mode while in handheld. Oh, damn, really? Oh, hold on, that's cool. Let me see. Nintendo Switch 2 release adds handheld mode boost, allowing compatible Switch software to run as if in TV mode. Oh, I wonder if that's gonna help like Xenoblade 2 a lot. Because Xenoblade 2, like, handheld looks like 4 pixels stretched across the screen. Humanity at Zeboim time almost got wiped out, right? Yes. The Zeboim era will end with like basically a nuclear holocaust. This is when the nukes drop. The stage for episode 3 is close to that of the real world. It was a time of advanced scientific culture. Like real world. Time of advanced scientific culture. The level of human intelligence had attained its peak. Its peak. Human intelligence peaked here. But due to genetic damage, okay, with mass genetic damage, many unable to reproduce. Right, because remember that was a plot line with like Faye and Ellie of this time period, where it's like Ellie was incapable of having a child. And like everyone at this in like this time period basically just were able to only live to like 30 years old, and then they died. Because like the genetic code for humankind was basically just dying off right there. Might want to add 10,000 years ago. Oh, good point. Oh, I am not able to edit this shit. There, we'll put that. I'll probably draft up a way better version of this. Oh my fucking god. Okay. Those unable to reproduce began to increase using nanotech. Kim! Right! Faye was called Kim in this time period. Niang's plot resulted in its complete failure. Foiled by Niang. By Niang's plot. Emeralda is born. Oh, I didn't know Toro's from here. Of the 3 sages of Shevat, revives nano technology. Okay. What are you doing here when your Celtics are in a dogfight? I have faith in my squad. Alright, I think it's time for a new song. The Valley Where Wind is Born. Yeah, I can work with this. Okay, that's episode 3. Episode 3 is now basically complete. We can move on to episode 4. I've spaced this out terribly. Okay. Let's move this down. Episode 4. Thank God I know Roman numerals, by the way. That's like 4 years of Latin class coming in clutch. Actually, it's more like 6. Don't ask me to speak it, though. Okay. Solaris War. About 500 years ago. So we're, again, going forward in time. We started from 15,000 years ago, then to 10,000 years ago, then to 4,000 years ago, and now we're all the way up to only about 500 years ago. This was the Solaris War. Remember that one cutscene we had that was basically torn to the Golden Country? Where it's like, Ellie then as... God, what was her name in this time period? Oh my God, what was her name? Sophia. She sacrifices herself for the resistance group to be able to, like, retreat. This is when Krellian goes emo, and this is when, Lacan becomes Graf. Okay. Continent of Ignis was the stage for episode 4. Continent of Ignis is the stage for this episode. At about that time, Cain and the Ministry judged humanity to be at the last stage of evolution. Okay. Solaris was founded. So Solaris dates back to this time period. And they did so to basically get control of the surface. Sophia and Lacan were the incarnations. Thank you. Her real name was still Ellie, though. Her name never changes. Faye is given a new name with every incarnation. Okay, yeah. So it's always Ellie, though sometimes she herself will take up a different name. Faye is the one that gets a different name in each incarnation. We start out with Abel. We start out with Abel here. Then it's Kim. Now it's Lacan. what exactly happened to Graf? I think Graf basically allowed himself to be sacrificed to Deus to basically trick Deus into believing that it had absorbed the contact, which is Faye. But Graf was not a complete version of Faye. So it worked for a little bit, but eventually Deus would find out, and I imagine would just wipe him out. I think Graf is dead. So Faye is a reincarnation of the previous life. Why Faye and Lacan Graf exist at the same time? Okay, so what happened with Lacan was he basically emotionally breaks in this time period because of the death of Ellie. This point being known as like Mother Sophia for like Neeson. She sacrifices herself, and that's when Lacan basically loses hope in everything. And he is told by Ellie to live. That becomes his primary reason for going forward. But the way he interprets this is, if I destroy the world, I no longer have to exist in a world without it, basically. I will then be allowed to die because the world is no longer there. So that's why he becomes Graf. But he still, at some point, they're not really specific here. I guess he still gets a kid out of this. And eventually, through that line, Faye will basically be reborn. Like a fragment of Lacan breaks off to become Graf, and is essentially a spirit that is able to like possess new bodies to continue existing. It's just like how N and Noah exist at the same time. Yeah, basically. Think of it more along the lines of like N and Noah from Xenoblade 3. Because they take this storyline and essentially reuse it. Or like retool it. Yeah, Faye is the same concept. Faye is like the main inspiration and concept for two main Xenoblade characters. Three, technically. N, Noah, and Matthew. Matthew from Future Redeemed. Future Redeemed Matthew is more of a visual throwback to Faye. But Noah is more like an upfront, this is like the story analog of Faye. I would have to think on it more, but I imagine there's a little bit more to it. Okay, what else? Okay, humanity evolved to use ether. So this was a major advancement. Humanity back in the Zeboim culture used technology. Now they're able to use ether. Remember, ether is essentially tapping into the Zohar and using that in order to utilize magic in this world, which is ether. And an M situation. Yeah, think of like Mio like Ellie and Noah like Faye. It's not a one-for-one comparison, but it's like supposed to be kind of similar. It's not just that Lacan is the contact. It's like Abel was all the way back here. And it's like Abel reincarnates throughout different generations, but they retain the ability to basically be the contact, which is why Faye is able to basically talk with the wave existence in Xenogears. It's because he's a reincarnation of Abel from way back when that first was able to communicate or get in contact, which is why I called it contact, with the wave existence. That's my understanding of it. Okay. Humanity evolved to use ether. War against massive war against Solaris. Reaches an extreme. War comes to an end on what comes to be known as the Day of Collapse. I think the Day of Collapse is when Ellie sacrifices herself to take out the flagship of Solaris to give the rebel army of Neeson an escape route, which is what causes Krellian to snap mentally, and also Lacan to become Graf. Yeah, every incarnation of Face Down with able all contact. Gotcha, Preto One, gotcha. Across the Zohan, the ship contacted it, and that created the reincarnation cycle. I think that's basically what happened, games. I think they're a little bit, like, intentionally obscure with this. But I think that's our current understanding, yes. The Graf, as I remember it correctly, was Faye's father. Or Faye's father got absorbed by Graf or something. Yeah, so Faye's father became possessed by Graf. Because if you ever seen ReZero, right? You know how like a spirit, like the spirit of like the Archbishop of Sloth was able to like possess like Subaru? It's something like that with Graf. Where it's like Graf is just basically this spirit that can move from body to body possessing people. I said this before, I can make anything a ReZero reference. That's my superpower. Alright, that's the end of episode 4. This is Torn of the Golden Country, basically. If you want like a quick, what is this like episode in the time period, this is Torn of the Golden Country. This is like Xenogears analog to it. And now we have episode 5. Episode 5 is Xenogears the game. Just straight up. That's why at the end of the game they said episode 5 is Xenogears. Okay, didn't mean to put that there. Episode 5. Xenogears. Present. Ooh, Resurrection of Deus. Held back until the year 9999. Faye lives in village Lahan. Little is known of Faye's origins, why he lived in the village. 3 years ago, caged in the house of the Lahan village chief, Lee by a masked man. 3 years ago, Faye is carried to village chief Lee by masked man. At the time, Faye's mind and body had both been greatly damaged. Lost nearly entire memory. Then came the event of the attack on Lahan. Then the game happens. Longest episode ever. Yeah, we know the most about episode 5 because it's just the game. Jmulls is 50% ReZero, 50% WoW, and 50% Xenoseries, and also like 50% Final Fantasy XIV. But yes, 100%. They're gonna be playable to some degree. Oh, that could have been cool. Yeah, the whole like Solaris War, like episode 4, that entire flashback should have been a game. Not necessarily an entire separate game, but that should definitely have been like its own like chapter in the game. That was definitely one of the consequences of how rushed Xenogears was. Okay, this timeline's a lot more like readable than I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be way more vague than this. So when does a contact become not the contact anymore? I think you have to be the incarnation of Abel. Lacan was, but when he became Graph, he basically like split himself apart. So he wasn't like a full contact, he was only part of him. He didn't have like the right bits to it. Was missing as is, yeah. I mean, in a way, we did get episode 4 playable. Like, it's just Torn of the Golden Country. Like, even Torna has its own Day of Collapse. You know what? The funny thing is, Torna also as a character split their personality apart, like Mithra. There's a lot of parallels here, huh? Think of how N lost being Ouroboros and lost being Noah. Yeah, good comparison. Alright, episode 6, we know like fuck all, by the way. There's like barely anything here for episode 6. We don't even have a time period. Time undetermined. At this time... Okay, it says time directly after... Episode 5 is pivotal. Not much is known. Basically, I think this is what they wanted the sequel to be. Oh yeah, good job, me. Hold on, let me move the face cam. Okay. Cock inspection. Alright, episode 6. Only known as terminal point of Xenogears' world. Revealing of information is held back. Hello, Shizuma. Welcome to the stream. Okay. So, this... Let me translate what this is supposed to be. This was supposed to be Xenogears 2. That's what this basically screams to me. Like, this was supposed to be like a full extra game, or it's just like, this is the blueprint that allows them to tell, like, another story after this. The meaning of the game Xenogears must be understood from the whole, as episodes 4 and 5 are but parts of the whole, while the stories of episode 2 and 3 must be pieced together from fragments. Alright, so we understand the story of episode 4 and 5 from basically the game, but like episode 2 and 3 were supposed to like piece together from the little bits they give us. Now the still unveiled episode 1 and 6 weighs in the mind, and it was thought that certainly by all means it should appear in print. From fragmentary stories, the finished product shall come about gradually. One way to make this come about would be to ask Zohar, please, and see... Wait, what the fuck? Hold on, what? Hold on, check this shit out. Now, the still unveiled episodes 1 and 6 weigh on the mind. These are Takahashi's comments, by the way. And it was thought that certainly, by all means, it should appear in print. The transition from fragmentary stories to finished product shall come about gradually. Huh. One way to make this come about would be to ask Zoha, please being quotations, and see what happens. Hello, Ultima, welcome to the stream. And hello, Dominion, welcome to the stream. And hello, Reboot, welcome to the stream. You should get a crazy wig for these aliens. Oh god, I kind of wish. I used to watch that show, funnily enough. It was kind of funny. Guys, if you take a triangle and you throw it, it can fly. Aliens. Okay, so even all the way back here, Takahashi is basically saying getting a complete story out of all of this won't be all at once. It'll be in fragments, and then at some point, those fragments will make a whole. But this will be very gradual. And one way to make this come about would be to ask Zoha, please. And Zoha shows up immediately again in Xenosaga. The lore has pushed him off the screen. Well, I accidentally put episode 6 at the bottom here, where my cam's supposed to be. I should have had this like a reverse order. That way it would have left a little like cubby hole for me. Hold on, I got an idea. Who the fuck wants a white outline? Alright. Top of your head's looking very good today. Thank you. Okay. So this is the timeline with which we're operating with, basically. So let's see if we can, like, piece together the other Xeno games onto this timeline somehow. We already know episode 4 over there is basically just Torn of the Golden Country. We basically know that. Alright, we move my camera over here to the center here. Okay. Huh. Where would the others be? Does Xenosaga even, like, fit in here at all? Time of advanced scientific culture? Like, maybe you could claim that to be, like, Saga. Emeralda is born. Do we want to draw a comparison between, like, Emeralda and Cosmos? Like, maybe? Xenosaga is episode 1. I could kind of see that. I think Saga is analogous to episode 1. Okay, so I think I can kind of see why. So it's because in Xenosaga, the entire idea is to get back to Lost Jerusalem, but in episode 1, they go and find Neo Jerusalem. Archer Constellation, that's Momo, because she uses a bow and arrow. Logic. Interplanetary war breaks out. Yeah, that's the case in Xenosaga as well, because we have, like, Oh my god, the church faction. What were they called? Ormus. We have Ormus versus, like, the Federation, I believe. So, yeah, okay. A lot starts to fall into place if we have Xenosaga as episode 1. As to somehow be affected in unrelated universes because no game has explained how we lost a whole planet. Yeah, it's why I think Xenosaga, it's one of the reasons why I think Xenosaga and Xenoblade are directly connected. Because Blade, like, answers what happened to Earth. It's like Blade is the story of Earth, and Saga is the story of humanity off of Earth. Archer Constellation is a bad translation. It's Sagittarius. Mezia 24. Oh, okay. I thought you just made some shit up. Okay. Yeah, okay, right, because Sagittarius is the bow guy. Christ on high, I'm on a fucking astrology website. How far in this rabbit hole am I going to go? Alright. Generous, idealistic, great sense of humor. Oh no, that explains Saga perfectly. Weaknesses. Wait a minute. Promises more than can deliver. Go. Very impatient. Will say anything no matter how undiplomatic. That's Xenogears. Sagittarius likes freedom, travel, philosophy, being outdoors. That's Xenosaga. Sagittarius dislikes clingy people, being constrained, off-the-wall theories, hello, and details. Okay, so that's Xenogears. Aren't you like grad level in astrophysics? Shut up. Play the radio scene. Fucking great poll. I forgot about that. Yeah. Hold on. Where's my radio scene? This is why I have, like, every cutscene in Xeno recorded. Future Redeemed. Chapter 5. Oh my god, VLC, please. For some reason, VLC's been bugging out on me. Alright, let's pause this. Hello, X99, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I heard about that a while back. All unfolding parallel to Xenosaga's lore. That's my belief as well, yes. Okay. Future Redeemed. What? Okay. I gotta fix this. Transform. Transform. Fit the screen. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, so we have the radio scene. Good afternoon, this is 11 News. Wednesday, May 16th. Bitch, go back. Of course, I skipped the one thing I wanted to say. Radamanthus Authority, okay. That's why humanity failed, by the way, they used metric. Sienna Morgan, SM. Barry Crowley. This is Xenoblade 3 Future Redeemed. Because at the end of it, there's a radio that plays during the reunion of these two characters. And this radio is basically just, let's make every reference to Saga we possibly can. Like, not even like subtle either. Like, they just name dropped Dimitri. Redamant is the name of the geocentric station at the top of the beanstalk. Gotcha, thank you. Wonder where Xeno's shield will be set. Oh god. Where's Xenoblade and all this? We'll figure that out.
Home. And not just for you and me, but for everyone we know.
Every who?
Midnight on the 16th, the first launch of the Earth-Life Colonization Project, 8th Mothership, the Icarus. Okay. Okay. Taking 480,000 settlers to the Eta Carina Nebula in the Carina Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way. Bitch. And the constellation is Sagittarius. From episode 1. Huh. Okay, so the radio scene in Future Redeemed directly calls out the same constellation that they find the planet from Xenogears in the story of Xenogears. Xenogears' story takes place on a planet called Neo Jerusalem they find in the Sagittarius constellation. I want to check up the individual planet. Sagittarius M24. Known as Messier 24, is a small Sagittarius star cloud. Is near the Omega Nebula. Wait, Eta Carina. Eta Carinae Nebula. I've never looked this up. In the Carina Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Oh, I'm thinking of a different thing. Okay. So the Carina Sagittarius arm is part of the Milky Way. Named for its proximity to the Sagittarius and Carina constellations. Huh. Okay, let's get back to this. I can nerd out about that later.
Hey, miss! I'm hungry!
For the Monculus Nebula. The Icarus is the 8th interstellar colony ship dispatched as part of Project Exodus, Xenoblade X. Not necessarily direct connection there, but interesting that the world of Xenoblade and Saga also has a Project Exodus.
Can we have a snack?
No.
Okay.
Total number of colonists sent out to the stars to 3 million.
First and then make a line. Because today I've...
Coalition government plans to send out ships 9 to 13 in the course of this year.
Special.
Right, 9th vessel departing in July heralds a new generation of ultra-long-range colony ships. Known officially as Philadelphia-class motherships. I don't remember this ever being said in Xenogears itself, but wasn't the Eldritch supposed to be classified as a Philadelphia-class mothership? Like the cream cheese? I'm pretty sure it is. Each vessel boasts a capacity of up to 1.5 million people.
Around? Just let me know if you want seconds.
Project will send a total of 10 million people out into the great beyond. Hello, John. Welcome to the stream. Thank you. Welcome to the stream. There's the radio, by the way, and there's the Vector Industries logo from Xenosaga. Like, they're not subtle about this. Alright, now for even more Saga stuff. It concerns the Saviorite Humans' Right Protection Bill brought to Congress last summer. That shit's not going anywhere.
See?
Earlier today, we heard the 13 authorities have petitioned against the... Wait. So, traditionally, it's the 12 tribes of Israel. But the theory is there's a secret 13th one. There's 13 tribes and 13 authorities. I might be overthinking that one, but I do wonder the connection because they love doing connections and references to the tribes of Israel. They did it in both Gears and Saga.
Isn't this great? There's no room for woes or worries here.
Page Jenna Perfect Works says the Eldridge is a Philadelphia-class mothership. Yeah, I see it too. The 8 members of the Bridges crew as personnel. Okay. It's also half of 26.
Happiness.
These also these colony ships are a clear call to the immigrant fleet. Good call, yeah. And as the Justice Ministry's 7th Special Commission on Human Rights debate once more on its validity,
Out there.
the possibility that the proposal may be scrapped seems more and more likely.
A place for new lives to live as they please.
Proposed measure has sparked a lot of public debate, so many will be watching the government and the commission very closely.
You can't.
It was promised to me. By him.
Wasn't that building, like, in Saga as well? Just, like, straight up? Like, wasn't it in, like, Saga 3? I know that's supposed to be, like, the space tower. I know that. There was much apprehension about the bill failing to make it all the way through the legislative process.
The person with the silver hair and kind eyes. He gave us this beautiful world.
And now Dmitry Yuriev, council person from the Minos Authority. Base of the Beanstalk, right. I feel like we've seen that structure in Saga. Probably because of the Beanstalk, yeah. Humanity reuses the same designs. My personal theory, Klaus experiments blast Earth into Xenoblade 1 and 2 bucket dimensions, rest of the universe becomes Saga. I agree. After Xenoblade 3, all 3 combine back together, then after Saga, Abel carries on into Gears. Oh, so the idea you have is that the Abel from Saga goes on to become Faye. Oh, I kind of like that. Yeah, I could see that.
But if we simply can't
Yeah, it's
get
basically the city of Saga 3.
Has issued a statement concerning the matter at hand.
Issued a statement concerning the matter at hand.
set out unburdened, and all this can be ours. You see? We don't need any of this old life.
Certainly. It's
I do wonder if there's a parallel there with like what Niall is talking about, how we don't need any of this. With them having a whole bunch of Saga stuff going on in the background, and also Xenogears stuff. The Xenogears stuff is more subtle, but it is here. Zohan, Abel and Saga was also kind of the contact for the Zohan Omega system. It's also interesting that his name is Abel there. Like, it's very interesting that his name is Abel, and in episode 1... not what I need. And in episode 1... No, episode 2, the first incarnation of Faye is Abel. Interesting. Yeah, I think I feel rather confident in Xenosaga being episode 1. Or at least, like, taking place alongside episode 1. A lot really lines up with that. Which means Xenogears takes place long after everything, huh? Name is Abel, and he looks exactly like Faye, huh? Yeah. It's very interesting. Look at the scene from Gears. It's the exact same model, too. Yeah. It was a little boy looking for his mother who somehow stumbled into the Zohan containment facility at the initial activation at the Milkdom. Yeah. A lot really starts to fall into place if we go with the assumption that Abel from Xenosaga is Abel from Xenogears. A lot really falls into place here. Like, a shocking amount. Obviously, I don't know if they'd ever be able to just, like, come out and say all this, right? Because of the copyright situation with Xenogears. But this does kind of feel like this is, like, the intended interpretation. So they can, like, make Xenogears in their own way. Even if they legally can't. Also, if Gears is after Saga, remember Nephilim was a ghost hanging around the universe. When Zohar created a mother for Abel, it gave Nephilim a body. Huh. Yeah, Takashi and crew legally can't confirm this. I agree. It's like, they can't legally confirm it, but it does kind of feel as if there's enough to kind of put the pieces together. Not one the same, but they've echoed occurrences of Wilhelm's eternal recurrence. Another comparison we'll have to talk about at some point is, like, Udo and the wave existence from Saga. Not Saga, Gears, I mean. What is probably a connection there. Evil being in Xenosaga was already Takahashi making legally distinct characters. Yeah. And I mean, heck, we have, like, 2 characters in Xenoblade that are supposed to be very analogous to, like, Faye in certain ways, like with Noah and Matthew. This is the best way they could put the pieces together. I agree. It's like the best way they could make Xenogears still their own is by basically giving us, like, enough pieces to, like, connect them, even if they legally can't. Like, they'll never be able to say Xenogears is, like, connected to everything, probably. But they've left us enough pieces to kind of, like, put this together. So it's like, the belief here is that this is Saga. And then Xenosaga Abel becomes Xenogears Abel. Or at least, like, that's the intended interpretation. The Xenosaga Perfect Guide might have some hints about the wave existence in Udo. Okay. And if we operate on the assumption we've been kind of working with throughout the Xenosaga playthrough, and that is, I'm not saying that we come up with any of this, by the way, and that is Xenosaga takes place concurrently with Xenoblade. That means both Xenoblade and Xenosaga are essentially taking place in parallel to each other, but they're all the way back in episode 1, which is 15,000 years before Xenogears. And then those stories end, and they converge, and out the other end, we get Abel from Xenosaga going on to become the Xenogears Abel, and then all this shit goes on. It's very clear about the hidden intention. All of this is the same story. Absolutely, I agree. Hello, Kim. Welcome to the stream. What did I miss? We made this. Wave existence and Udo are the same thing. One is just good while the other is bad. I also do wonder if there is supposed to be some kind of interpretation between, like, Udo from here being bad, but by the time we interact with Udo here as the wave existence, some kind of stimulus has occurred within the wave existence to turn it from bad to good. Let's fit X in now. Well, X takes place, we imagine, concurrently with like 1, 2, and 3 Blade and Saga. But there is an interpretation I could assume that we don't know that for sure. It's like we see the scenes in Chapter 13 in Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, product from Nintendo, where we see Noah and Mia, we see Rex, we see Shulk, we see those characters. We don't know if those memories Al is seeing in Xenoblade X are necessarily taking place at that moment. They could have been, like, memories from way back when. So for all we know, this could be Blade X. I kind of doubt that, but it's possible. Wasn't Abel in Xenosaga lower domain Udo? That could... I don't recall exactly. If that is the case, it could kind of explain why Abel, Lacan, and Faye are the contact. Because I highly doubt the overarching story that Takahashi and, like, Monolith have been wanting to tell with all of this has stayed exactly the same from 1998, right? I imagine some changes have happened over the course of that time. He wasn't Udo, he was one of its eyes. Right. My overall theory is that the ghost, the Mobius, and the Ouroboros are beings that belong to the same higher plane of existence as Udo's. The way I've been kind of operating is the ghosts are the gnosis, and there's some kind of, like, universal corrective element. They're like the universe's white blood cells. And for some reason, they view the conduit as basically like a virus or something. Or something to at least quarantine or safeguard or reacquire. Which is why they're always, like, after us. Basically, Udo was watching the lower domain through Abel and Abel's Ark. Right, I forgot about Abel's Ark, yeah. Okay. Yeah, like, we have a few big mysteries here. Alright. Okay, we have main questions. Lord help me. Where's my fucking text? Why is it black? Dumbass. Okay. Main questions that we now have. 1. Actually, I won't number these. I don't want to make one important more than the other. When is Xenoblade X? That's a main one. Because it can either take place concurrently with, like, Blade 1, 2, 3, and Saga, or it can take place way after. We don't know exactly. What are the ghosts / Gnosis? Was there something analogous to the ghosts of Gnosis in Xenogears? Because, like, the best I could come up with were, like, the wells. But that wasn't even, like, that strong of a comparison in my mind. The Nopon Sage in 1 is as old as the universe and is listed as 9,999 years old. Interesting. Is the Nopon Sage important? 9999 years old. Oh, that's a great one for Boki. Yeah. You just reminded me. What the fuck is Samar? The Seraph? Maybe? That's kind of where I'm lining up with. I'm kind of with Praetorian here. I don't know if Xenogears has a Gnosis / ghost analogy. Or just like insert. The Diabolos in Xenogears Perfect Works does come close. I forgot about the Diabolos. What was the Diabolos calamity again? They've mentioned it briefly in Xenogears. There's a theory that Nopon are the angels of the Xeno multiverse. Nopon important. Last boss. Huh. The last boss in Xenogears is the Gnosis. Why do you say that? Is Choo-Choo a Nopon? I think the Choo-Choos are just like a prototype of what became the Nopon. When they could like no longer use the Choo-Choos because they're owned by Square Enix, I'd imagine. They just swapped them out for Nopon. I imagine if Takahashi never lost the rights to Xenogears, it would have just been Choo-Choos instead of Nopon. Like how I imagine if Xenogears was greenlit to become Final Fantasy VII, then instead of Choo-Choos, it would have just been Moogles. Diablo's core would prototype of mobile terminal weapons belonging to the Deus. All right. I don't know if I'd call that Gnosis, though. During the Dea collapse, they were used by a newly awakened Graph to decimate 96 to 98% of the world's population. I forgot. Yeah, they just kind of glossed over that part during the Torna bit in Xenogears. I forgot Graph, like, nuked the world. Not necessarily nuked it, but because we had another period in time we actually nuked it. To Deus's angels. Okay. They kind of feel, honestly, a little bit more akin to the Siren model from Xenoblade 2. They feel kind of more akin to that. Instead of just, like, being Gnosis or, like, ghosts. The Nopon saying the native to Mira is a bit of a reference to how Choo-Choos were native to our Gears planet. Yeah, I think the answer to this question, by the way, is no. I don't think Nopon like fulfills some kind of giant cosmic balance or like some like massively important element in the overall lore. I also kind of don't want them to. I kind of just want them to be there. I think that's the best role for them. Imagine a choo-choo Tora. Imagine Peak is what you just told me. There are a lot of genocides in the Xeno franchise. Can never have enough of them, you know? Any big fans of genocides in the chat? Can I get a poggers? Chat, which is your favorite way to genocide people? Nuclear holocaust, like episode 3? Or set a bunch of like a robot people to like kill everyone in like episode 4 like Graph? Choose your Pokemon. Oh, I'm an idiot. Last time I answered that question, I got banned. I think the Nopon are just a troll and exists outside of the laws of the universe. Yeah, I think that's the case as well. I think they're just like a universal X factor. I think they're just kind of there. Please search Xenomira Siren translation. Brother, my search history is the most eclectic shit ever right now. We looked up astrology, we looked up various constellations, the tribes of Israel, and now Xenomira Siren translation. No, Google, I didn't want to translate that from Basque to English. Dick. This it? They just appeared. Also, the stage did pull Elma and Shulk into Xenoblade 2. See, this is another... Actually, hold on. Before we move away from the questions, this is something we also have to think about at some point. Is Elma in Xenoblade 2 canon? Because I know the initial assumption back in the day was that it was non-canonical. I'm not convinced of that anymore. I think there's a way we could, like, fudge this and think of it as canon. When we eventually do replay Xenoblade 2, we'll have to do those quests again. Yeah, Bandai Namco still owns Xenosaga so far, but they've been far more willing to, like, allow Monolith and Nintendo to utilize the IP. It's like, even back with, like, Future Redeemed, like, you go to the credits, you will just find Xenosaga and, like, Bandai Namco there. And I remember there used to be a setting for the Switch for, like, Future Redeemed, like, look at the copyright shit. And, like, there was, like, a shout out to, like, Bandai Namco and Xenosaga there. I can't find it anymore. I remember seeing this, though. Bandai Namco don't own Xenosaga. They only own the game publishing rights. Like how Sony owns a movie publishing right for Spider-Man. Sage would have pulled them in... Would have pulled them in the upper domain. Oh, right, the translation. Siren model kit, right? Because they made like a Gunpla kit for Siren back in the day, and apparently the box had actually important lore or something. So I guess this is the translation. Siren model kit that recently released includes a page with Mui Mui showing the reader and ineligible to him ancient text explaining Siren and Earth pre-Klaus's experiment, especially as it relates to the world tree of the beanstalk. I've translated below. Note that when I use orange text, it is to indicate that I am translating phrases or words that were also present verbatim in Xenogears. Oh, thank God. I love it when people do my work for me. Oh, what a huge play. Fucking love this. Okay. Not a willful interpretation that I may have made on my part. All instances of conduit have been changed to the Japanese name gate. I will not go on an anti-localization tirade right now. I will not go on an anti-localization rant right now. I will not do it. I will overcome the instincts dwelling up within me. I will not waste 30 minutes on this topic. I will not waste 30 minutes on this topic. Okay, got it out of my system. Can't see shit. I rubbed my eyes too hard. All right. I was blind, and thus I can say, all instances of conduit have been changed to the Japanese name, gate, to make more sense for the translation. Added footnote for unified government. Save it for the next time you play too, bet. Corrected instances of Trinity processors to Trinity processor. In addition, I changed robotic device weapons to terminal interface weapons, Xenogears, after finding that the same phrase used to describe artificers were also used to describe the weapons in Deus's arsenal, such as Diabolos and Seraph Angels. Okay, so Siren, called Aeon in Japanese. Oh, okay, so Diablos and Seraph Angels are two separate things. So, like, when I thought before that Diablos was more akin to like Siren and those things, they are kind of related, but they are still separate things. An interesting, like, have it like demons and angels parallel here. Of Klaus's society, yeah, but the problem with that is that there's a lot of very in-your-face religious themes and naming I'm getting way too tired for this tonight. Diction in Xeno overall, but that's also the case in Blade 2. We'll get to that more when we get to Xenoblade 2 more. It's Mooey Mooey. I'm Mooey Mooey, am an inquisitive, curious Nopon versed in robotics. Sometimes I'm too curious, and I find crazy things in my possession. Just the other day, I was scammed by a salvager who told me he had gone to the very bottom of the Cloud Sea, the land of Moritha. Is it Boim? Obviously not, but still. What I was fooled into getting, you ask? I was fooled into getting text written in some gibberishities. My favorite language. He lured me into getting it by saying that I could decode it. Like cereal box. I could understand the secrets of the Aegis and make significant strides in robotics, and I just went along with it. But no one can read the gibberishities. Maybe the legendary Nopon Sage could. So we're just calling him out here, okay? In any case, I can't read it, fair enough, so it means nothing to me. Meh. I should have just used this money to buy a year's worth of pollen orbs instead. Anyway, mood. I'm releasing these texts that I spent so much on to get. If someone can read it, please share it with me. Then I'll use the secrets of the Aegis and make an artificial blade that is way bigger than, and better than a Rosa. Siren. Okay, Siren is an artifice, a class of terminal interface weapon. Okay, there's the comparison. Thank you. Alright, so the Siren model kit just basically confirms that theory from before, that Siren is supposed to be like representative of this. That was manufactured in the orbital ring, found in the lower orbit of Earth. For a good discussion, I feel that, Shin, don't worry. We'll have plenty of opportunities later down the line when we eventually get back to Xenoblade 2 to replay to get into this. We'll get nerdy with this shit too. That was manufactured in the orbital ring found in the lower orbit of Earth. A distinctive feature that these artifices have is that they were not weapons created by humans. Oh, they were created by a collective of artificial intelligence known as the Trinity Processor. Oh, fair enough. Okay, yeah. And designed as a class of weapons meant to be devices to the core, the gate. Okay, the conduit. But another way, the artifices are cells of a larger autonomous system. Because of this, the weapons that were created had been created in a way that was fundamentally different from that of a human weapon. Huh. Interesting. Artificers are cells of a larger autonomous system. Because of this, the weapons that were created had been created in a way that was fundamentally different from that of a human weapon. So the Trinity Processor, Numa, Logos, the other guy, they're the ones who created these things. Yeah, Sama is like the genesis of everything. Sama is way back before everything we've been dealing with. Supposedly. No, Sama's not Lost Jerusalem. Lost Jerusalem is Earth. Yeah, Lost Jerusalem is supposed to be Earth. And the main reason, the theory we're going with, the main theory that it's lost right now is because Klaus split it in two, and because they're both in their own, like, pocket dimension, they can't find the fucking thing. Which is why the end of, like, Xenoblade 3 is so significant, because they come back together. But another way, the artifices are cells of a larger autonomous system. Because of this, the weapons that were created have been created in a way that was fundamentally different from that of a human weapon. Within the orbital ring, there's a massive academic institution known as Aoi. What? That's too many vowels, bro. Aoi-dos. Oh, Aoi in Japanese is blue. Right, okay, Aoi-dos. The massive institution was formerly confined to a small university laboratory. But at the beginning of the 21st century, a scientist from that laboratory found a certain magical index, a magnetic abnormal matter in Africa, the conduit / Zohar. Right, we have that scene in Xenosaga. It's like the very first scene of Saga 1 is them finding the conduit / Zohar. Yeah, Sama had the Zohar first. Sama is Samaria. Maybe like naming convention, but I think it's like, I think Sama is like way back. Like way, way, way back. I also think Sama is way bigger than they're letting on. I think Sama is probably like multi-dimensional / multi-universal. This matter, later be known as the Gate, Conduit / Zohar, was at first simply an intriguing artifact that was, what the fuck, stratigraphically out of place. Geology that deals with the origin, composition, distribution, and sucking of strata. Okay, so it shouldn't have been there, basically. It shouldn't have been where it was found. Got it. Where was I? Down here. Being so technologically advanced, as research continued, it was proven that the gate was a perpetual motion machine. What? That defied the laws of energy. And also that this was the source of the magnetic abnormalities being detected. Oh! Okay. I think this is a case of unreliable narrator. Let me explain. We kind of get a bit of an explanation for the Zoha in Xenogears. I think because the Zoha/Conduit is able to essentially produce infinite energy, they assumed here that it was a perpetual motion machine. But what it was actually doing, I think the way they explained it in Xenogears is like the following. The way the Zoha/Conduit makes energy is it like predicts all future phenomena and like possibilities, picks the one most likely to occur. We go with that one, but it uses all the other ones as energy, which is why it's like able to just like constantly be this font of like endless energy. Takahashi uses that a lot. Yeah, he used it in Xenoblade X as well. They love unreliable narrators. So I think it's like here in like the back during like episode 1, Xenoblade and Xenosaga, where they didn't understand how the Zoha worked. They assumed it was a perpetual motion machine, or maybe it like classifies as that because of what we just went on about. And also, this was the source of the magnetic abnormalities being detected. In response to this, the unified government formed a research institution for further study, and because this institution required a vast amount of resources and people, Audios was born. It's also the gateway to the upper domain, so it's just flowing with the power of God Udo. Yeah, that too. Which would mean the ghost of the military force of Udo and wave existence. And wave existences. Okay, I can kind of see that, yeah. I definitely think like one of the two big concepts they're going to bring forward into the future, like regardless of whether or not they incorporate previous characters of the new story or just like relegate them to the annals of history or whatever, I think the main thing we're going to be dealing with, or one of the main things, will definitely be the ghost slash the Gnosis. That feels like the sword of Damocles like hanging over our head is ready to drop at some point, especially since we're basically bringing the Ares Prime with us at the end of Blade X. X also had the unified government. Did it? Was that told in the main story aside? I didn't pick that up because I wasn't looking for it. So this is what 0 point energy is, I think, because I studied that scene where I think it's like Miyang and Krellin yapping on about the Zohar when like Ellie was crucified. I basically studied up on that scene a lot. Where was it? I basically like, so I started putting down notes to like break down Xenogears like almost entirely. So I want to do that for a future video. It's gonna be a long ass video. And I basically like transcribed a lot of things from those scenes. Where is it? I have Anima, Animus, and Persona. Deus. Okay, I have it here. Zoha drives all gears on the planet, master generator that transmits its energies to the slave generators in our gears. It is also the source of all the ether power that the inhabitants of this planet utilize. Right, okay, here it is. By utilizing the energy displacements caused by actualizing potential future phenomenon, the Zoha modifier has the ability to produce infinite amounts of energy. Yeah, so it's like the energy displacements because it's like predicting the future and all that. And it's like using that as energy somehow. The core that was detected detached from Zoha, the biological computer Katamoni. I misspelled that. Crashed onto this primitive planet. It activated Persona, its life support plant that can generate organic material. Using this, it prepared for itself a genetic-based system for the day when Deus would be resurrected. First humans were born, Emperor King, and the Gazel Ministry. Right, okay. Alright, back to this. I told you we were gonna get nerdy with this. It's why Al and Rex were able to talk to Lau and Adam. They both had the power of the conduit. They basically mini replicas and helped them move on. Yeah, good snipe there, Shadow. Good snipe. Oh, God. The people are from Mortha before becoming zombies. According to a report... How long is this fucking thing? Alright. According to a report filed 10 years after the formation of Eidos... Let's get a new saga there. According to a report filed 10 years after the formation of Eidos, the gate conduit was, as the name implied, a gate. It had the function of a door that could connect multiple universes. This is fucking... Okay, I promised not to get on a tirade about localization. I promised I'm not going to do it. We can just understand what I was going to yell about, right? We all understand. We can, like, table this discussion, put a bookmark in it. We'll pick up on it when we get later down the line, okay? Let's just keep going. Let's not distract myself even more than we already have. The gate was, as the name implied, a gate. It had the function of a door that could connect multiple universes. It is not hard to imagine where a multiverse joint, English localization meta-universe manifold, to exist on the surface of the planet, that there would be catastrophic consequences for Earth as a whole if an accident were to happen. Multiverse joint makes so much more fucking sense than whatever the fuck this is. Ugh, okay, I won't get onto it. Okay. So, the idea is that the conduit's a door, but the way to open it is you need this, like, multiverse joint. And if this exists on the surface of the planet, there would be catastrophic consequences for Earth as a whole if an accident were to happen, because it's opening a way to another world. This happens at some point. This happens in the course of Xenoblade 2, because Klaus directly says it happens. Because during the events of Xenoblade 2, at the end in Chapter 10, Klaus regales us with a story of when he split the world in half. At that point in time, portals to other worlds were opening up everywhere. So I think it's safe to assume that there was a multiverse joint either on the surface of the planet or, like, around the planet, and the conduit opened with it, and that's what happened. It, like, opened the doors to, like, a whole bunch of different worlds. During this time period, the unified government set up 3 orbital tower beanstalks on the equator. First tower, Rhadamanthus. Second tower, Aeacus. Third tower, Minos. Right, because we had the Minos call out in Future Redeemed. Same with, like, Rhadamanthus. Have we seen anything about this one, though? I don't think we have. We had the Minos Authority, talked about with the radio. Rhadamanthus was the beanstalk that we dealt with in Xenoblade 2. I don't know if we dealt with this. Huh. This is why I waited for you to play Xenogears to see how everything is coming together. This is one of the reasons I haven't made, like, a main theory video in a while, because I wanted all this information first. Because, like, look at all the things we're now, like, being able to piece together collectively. It's so cool. And these towers were connected to the lower orbital portion to create the orbital ring. This project was set forth by oh my god, Eidos. I keep wanting to say Eidos. Eidos. And the orbital ring was meant as a way to further study the gate from the surface of Earth. Okay, so they made that giant ring that goes around the planet as a way to study the conduit. Minos and Rhadamanthus are both characters from Xenoblade 2 DLC as well. Oh yeah, Minos! He was the guy from, like, the opera house in Araya, right? He was the Blade. I don't remember Rhadamanthus. Oh, wasn't he, like, the king or something? Minos was the place that Michi was from in the radio. Right, okay, so I imagine they named these after locations on Earth. And these towers are connected to the lower orbital portion to create the orbital ring. This project was set forth by Aoidos, and the orbital ring was meant as a way to further study the gate far from the surface of Earth. At this research facility, a governing artificial intelligence collective, oh goody, known as the Trinity Processor, that's good AI, I'm fine with it, was raised to maintain the gate. At least it's not DLSS 5. The processor, using biocomputer elements, was raised in a virtual reality, good, to gain a personality, always the best, and the system would be used to govern the gate. Where else am I thinking of this? Raised in a virtual reality to gain a personality. That's Cosmos as well, right? Because remember the beginning of, like, Xenosaga 1? And, like, the way that Shion basically continued to develop Cosmos was in the network. I wonder if I'm thinking too much into that. Huh. Ninoth, right. The way I see it, the Zohar is a gate in a way that connects to all universes and use energy from upper domains, but opening it blows a hole in the universe. Yeah, it's like opening it's like opening the door in an airplane as it's like up in the air. I could see that. It's like a pressure system. The Trinity Processor would go on to expand systems to govern the gate without the interference of humans. It was during this process that many of the artifices were created. A question, do we know the year Xenosaga takes place, like, exactly? Like, do we know the year, like the calendar year? And is it the same calendar that we're operating with? I think we do. Al opened the door too when he blew a hole in the universe too, the one he fell through. Yeah, good point. 4,000 years after the experiment. Interesting. This is about 5,000 years of the gap. To go by Pied Piper, at least. Okay. Interesting. Because like that 4,000 year gap from like the Clouds experiment to like Saga would take us to a right around here. The Trinity Processor would go on to expand systems to govern the gate without the interference of humans. Oh, wait a minute, there's another parallel here. Kind of like the Gazelle Ministry. It was during this process that many of the artifices were created out of necessity to protect the orbital ring. Rebel groups not aligned with a unified... obviously not the same, but like there's a parallel there. Without the interference of humans, it was during this process that many of the artifices were created, out of necessity to protect the orbital ring. Rebel groups, not aligned with a unified government, were all demanding that the gate be handed over after all. Okay. Because of their unique origin, the artifices come with unique functions not found in man-made weapons. Artifices do not have any internal engine. They have a built-in system known as a slave generator to receive energy input from the gate to function. That's an Omni gear. Straight up, that's an Omni gear. And that's just like an ES, just an ES. Artificers all have an emerald gate-shaped crystal that functions as the receiver for the slave generator. Siren has a charged particle laser that is connected directly to the slave generator, and that is what makes it shoot a massive laser beam. I love that. In actuality, it is more accurate to say that the slave generator charged particle beam had some additional upgrades to make it what it is on Siren. Siren was a shining blade, a beautiful and simple device meant, right, this is advertising or like showcasing the model kit. Because remember, all of this comes from a model kit. Like, this all just comes from a model kit for Siren. Like, straight up. Motherfucker. Did you think I wouldn't spot this? Obviously not one for one, but there are parallels here. Look at the color scheme. This might be a better picture. Uh-huh. I'm on to you. Apologies, model kit lore. Yeah, this was all from the back of the box from the model. That's why Numa creates small portals when she does specials. The Trinity processor will go on to expand systems to govern the gate without the interference of humans. Siren was a shining blade, a beautiful and simple device meant to be wielded against those the Trinity processor deemed a threat. There is a design philosophy to it that won't be found in anything man-made. Phrase used here is identical to a government in Xenoblade X, known in the English localization simply as the Coalition. Hardly appears in the actual game. The only instance I can think of is when it is ascribed that Elma was a colonel for the Coalition Heavy Armor Trading Unit back on Earth, but does appear in the short stories that were published in the Japanese website that I'm just learning exist. I've kept it as Unified Government because the potential connection between 2 and X is currently dubious at best. It no longer is. It's basically just connected, and the direct translation gets more meaning across than Coalition. I just want to all to understand. You guys understand where I'm coming from with this, right? Like whether or not you agree, you see where I'm coming from, right? Just to be clear, the text here is in referencing a system very similar to Katamoni from Xenogears. Yeah, the Trinity processor. The Katamoni was essentially the machine that was like controlling Deus, like part of Deus. It's the analog to the Trinity Core processor. They are not synonyms, Shin. Unified is an adjective. Coalition's a noun. Hello, Andros. Welcome to the stream. Stream TLDR. Oh, I don't know if a TLDR is possible. Well, we have all of this. Say hi to Master Chief when I wave my hand, by the way. Take care, Star. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, we have the timeline for this shit. for Perfect Works. I now know the timeline for Perfect Works. What are the other main questions we have to answer? Or hope to get an answer at some point in the future? From G Gundam? Oh my god. If I had, like, unlimited money, I would love to get a bunch of, like, Xeno figures. It's like, imagine how cool, like a replica of, like, Eldritch would be. And you just, like, have it mounted somewhere. Or, like, hanging from the ceiling. Once I saw Chapter 12's ending, I'm baffled somebody saw it too and was still like, nope, not related. I mean, the connections are even more obvious. It's just like the localization fucking changed things for no reason. I digress. I digress. But yeah, it's like I called X being connected before the Definitive Edition even came out, so I feel more like justified every time we look more into this. Alright, so the main questions we still have to answer for Xeno going forward. When is Xenoblade X? Because we don't necessarily know. It's like, before Xenogears, I was operating on the assumption that the ending of Chapter 13 and the ending of Saga 3 with Cosmos going to the planet, and also the ending to Xenoblade 3 were basically all the same time period. Now with Xenogears, I don't know when the fuck X takes place. Because, like, X could be episode 6 for all we know. We also need to know what the Ghosts and the Gnosis are. Is the Nopon Sage important? Right. This is another main one. Because they built up Samar even more in Chapter 13. They didn't have to do that. But they, like, included the conduit. They further, like, fleshed out Samar lore. Multiple ways, by the way, because not only in Chapter 13 with, like, Void and all that, but also with the Nail quests. We need to know, are Nopon actually important, or are they just a giant goof? I kind of hope they are a goof. This is, like, the eternal question. What's the conduit / Zohar / gate up to today? And then a more minor one. Is the Elma stuff in Xenoblade 2 canonical? Because it very well could be. X was localized by Nintendo of America, while the number of titles were localized by Nintendo of Europe. That made it pretty confusing. Ah, okay. Yeah, we know that, yeah, the Gnosis are humans. We got that from Saga. Humans who fear returning to the collective unconscious. Right. Here's my thing with the Ghost and the Gnosis. After X, I was firmly of the opinion that these were the exact same thing. Now, I don't know if it's more like an umbrella thing. Where it could be like... how do I word this? I need a pen. Like an umbrella, and like maybe the Gnosis and the Ghost like both under this. Like maybe they're like different factions of like maybe like different subgroups of like one faction. Where it's like the Gnosis could just be like the Grunt unit, and the Ghosts are what sent out when like shit needs to get done. Ghosts and Gnosis are 100% the same thing. They even literally salt. Yeah, I know they're both salt, which is why I'm like, there's like two interpretations for them. They either like exactly the same thing, and we just go back to what Junior talked about in like Saga 1, where it's like the Gnosis are able to like change form based on dimension. It could also be that like the Ghost and the Gnosis are like two groups of the same whole, but it's still like separate groups within that whole. Yeah, they did say they can change form depending on the universe, which could explain it. And the humans and all the rest and the giant gods shouldn't be related to Samarians at all because they were created in those universes, which would make the ex-humans returning the key to Samar. I don't think humanity or like Earth is in any way Samar. I think Samar is a completely separate thing. I think Samar is like to the left of this entire timetable. Like Samar is like way back there. But like it still exists. I think Samar is probably going to be revealed to be some like multi-dimensional / multiversal empire. I think that's what Samar is going to be. Because, right, like think of it like this. It doesn't make much sense to like establish Samar and then we've already wiped out the universe Samar's from. It's like maybe they're from like an upper domain or something, or like they're a society that knew or understood how to transcend the domains. Humans are descended from them, yeah. What I'm trying to say is I don't think what they're going to do is like the Sumerians from like Mesopotamia actually Samar. I don't think they're going to do that. I think Samar is like way to the left. But like it also extends through all of this. Because remember, they also, the Manon also said Samar is so big where the Ganglion, who were like enough of a force to where like they could have their attention split, still wipe out Elma's world single-handedly, but not necessarily single-handedly, but wipe out Elma's world, or at least probably get there, but also do significant damage to Earth when they were fighting the ghosts to wipe out both of those worlds, and they're only like one very small like splinter faction criminal like group of Samar. With an eye doctor at 9 a.m. Oof. We'll do even more streams like this in the future, by the way. Yeah, great point, Games. I didn't even think of that. In fact, the entire thing of Elma's race being from another universe that got wiped out and confirmed they're a descendant of Samar confirms the multiversal. Yeah. It's like if Elma's people were descendants of Samar and Earth humans were descendants of Samar as well, that implies directly that Samar has to be multiversal for that to happen. Ganglion feed human bodies because our DNA is close enough to Samarians to override them, so it's likely humans can interfere with other Samarian tech. Don't think Elma was actually from a different universe. She had a star map that led her to Earth. I think it could have just been like a different version of Earth. And she didn't realize she crossed dimensions across universes. Because, like, remember, like, not even humanity, like, on the White Whale realized we, like, hopped a whole universe until Al told us. Or, like, we had the data from the Ares Prime. Like, we didn't even know we jumped the universe. Unless you were me and predicted that, but still. Right? I don't mean to suck my own cock. Much. Elmo literally quotes the Bible and insinuates that it's some kind of historical record. Samar was the neighbors, rivals to the people of God. Right. Yeah, that's the kind of the funny thing. It's like in Blade 1, 2, and 3, there's religious like symbolism and metaphors, definitely. But it's like with X, they go back to like the Xenogears and Xenosaga days with like far more upfront and in your face. So did they create all humans across multiple universes? It's possible like what humanity is just like Samarians like leaving seeds of themselves in different universes and letting them develop on their own. Like imagine Samar goes to look at a universe, realizes humanity's not there. They basically like leave a seed for humanity to like bloom. So they have like some kind of connection to that universe and then like fuck off a bit. Unless you wanna bleach your eyes. Means the ghost destroy. Wait, I didn't even think of this shit, and that's hilarious. The funniest thing about the Bible being a historical record is that it means the ghost destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. That's hilarious. I didn't even think of that. One of the Queen clue. Oh, which queen are you talking about, Shadow? It's supposed to be the Mother of Humanity parallel. Yeah, so they've basically reintroduced the ghosts, the Gnosis as the ghost in Xenoblade. We do know somewhat what the Gnosis / ghosts are from Xenosaga. They're former humans. They're like trying to get back to like the upper domain or some shit. I forget the exact specifics of that. It's been a while. But we kind of know what they are. I'm slowly building up the lore of the Xeno universe, but X still feels the odd one out. Can sure change things. Here's my thing when it comes to like that. I imagine from like 1998 when they came up with like Perfect Works for Xenogears all the way through like chapter 13 for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition product from Nintendo, they have probably changed a few details. We know they've changed a few details even throughout the Xenoblade era because they had to. In Xenoblade 1 originally, Alvis has a key pendant, which works a lot better when you realize that it's called the gate instead of the fucking conduit, so it could have been a key to the gate, which is a door. I digress. But they changed that to the emblem that the Aegis has had in Xenoblade 2 with the release of Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition. So we know they have changed a few minor details, at least like that. What I do think they always intended, though, was kind of what they did with Xenoblade X. I think their intention for Xenoblade X was to introduce it and present it to be like a spin-off, and as if it wasn't important to the overall narrative. Give you a few, like, bits to nibble on and like theorize maybe there's a connection here, and then when Blade 3 comes out the door and they wrap that up, then they drop their dick on the table and say, okay, here's like the final bit to X, it's all connected, baby. Those cores are the Aegises, yeah. They went for, instead of like representing that they're like the keys to unlock the gate, they're directly related to it. They just went for a different like interpretation to like their relationship to the conduit. Soraya Saga has described the Xenoseries as being different rivers all springing from the same source, if I remember the quote right. Makes sense. Like, everything does kind of spring to this. Xenosaga explains to us there's the imaginary number domain the gnosis come from. There's the upper domain too that ghosts could come from instead, making ghosts similar to the gnosis but angels. I mean, maybe. I think ghosts and gnosis are probably far more, like, intrinsically connected. They either, like, the same thing in my mind, or, like, they're, like, two different branches of, like, the military, if that makes sense. Like, one would be the army, the other the Marines, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's like, we have to bear in mind, like what Praetorian said, they have to dance around copyright to some degree because they don't own Xenogears. And I don't think they even own Xenosaga. They can borrow a lot of things from Saga, but like, they have to be a little like indirect every now and then. They're not even like that indirect though. This is kind of like how it's structured in my mind, where it's like Blade and Saga converge and then we get Gears. This is how it feels right now. Like, Gears was the first game out the door, but it was like also the last thing that has taken place so far. Is he split into a Trinity too? Interesting to think about. That Square didn't sue over Xenosaga. They probably didn't have enough legs to stand on. It's like, there's a lot of connections to Xenogears in Saga. But there's enough to be different, I think. I think stealing cores from the conduit is seen as worse than creating Aegis cores, and so that explains why Ghost attacks Samar, but not Klaus and humans. Possibly, yeah. Able is one eye of God, yeah. We'll need to think more on this, but I think like this is like food for thought at least. So like fresh off of Xenogears, this is like where we're kind of at right now. I think it's also getting kind of late, so it's probably best to call the stream there for the day. So thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video and the stream. I want to do more streams like this in the future. These are fun. Plus, Lord knows we have enough time till like next Blade game. Who knows? Maybe they shadow drop it again. Who knows? So I'm going to call it there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video and the stream. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Always love getting nerdy with all of you. Love this series. Love you guys. I love you and all you guys. I might be Rex, who knows? Let's keep thinking. I want more like crackhead theories. I want us to just like put our minds to work and try to figure out everything before they can even like make it up. I want us to get to a point where we've like thrown out so many theories and ideas. When we get to Blade 4, someone's right. Like, that's what I want to get to. I want us to just like throw so many things at the wall that eventually one of us is correct. Just by nature of us coming up with like every possibility possible. Full timeline video would go crazy. Oh, we have to do it. Please don't make me part of your harem. We'll see. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Q. Thank you, Pitario. Thank you, Praetorian. Thank you, Fubuki. Thank you, Neo. Thank you, Q. Izanami, Kim. Reboot, Games. Viresi, Neo, Shadow. Fubuki, Ultima. Kim. John, Shin, Pitt. Shadow, thank you everybody for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again, we'll become the 4chan prophet rats. Yes! We will predict everything. So help me God.